Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of the Destiny Weapon Review. In this review, we'll be taking a look at the notorious exotic auto rifle, Suros Regime. Suros Regime is a lower rate of fire, high impact auto rifle. In PvE with full upgrades, it takes out lower tier enemies in just a few shots, with higher tier enemies requiring a little more focus. Non-major enemies require 9 shots to completely remove their shields. Once their shields are removed, Fallen Captains and Hive Wizards require 5 shots to the head or 11 to the body to kill, Minotaurs require 11 shots to kill, with the Centurion requiring even more. Note that these shots do take focused fire into account, but do not take the weapon's main bonus into account. We'll talk more about Suros Regime's bonuses later. These shots also used the Smart Drift Control bonus. Using a different bonus will result in 9 damage more per shot. In PvP, it requires 6 to 7 shots to the head or 8 to the body to kill an enemy player. The reason it's 6 to 7 is because 6 shots with focused fire deals 192 damage, which is a survivable amount of damage by those with higher armor values. Time to kill is 1 second at its fastest kill time, 6 headshots with focused fire active, with 7 and 8 shots requiring another 200 to 400 milliseconds. Suros' rate of fire varies depending on the position you have the weapon. Without the focused fire bonus, or fired from the hip, Suros fires at 450 rounds per minute. However, if the weapon has focused fire and is aimed when fired, it fires at 300 rounds per minute. Its reload speed is about 2.4 seconds, and while that seems quick, it's actually one of the slowest reloading auto rifles of exotic or legendary quality in the game. Magazine capacity for low rate of fire autos is pretty good at 33 rounds, with max capacity sitting at around 294 rounds, including what's in the chamber. Suros' handling is very good. It is one of the most easily controlled weapons in the game. It is capable of maxing out its stability upgrade, but at base, this weapon will kick up and to the right most often. Aim time is around 250 milliseconds, with weapon swap time being around 1 second. Suros' hipfire performance is good for an auto rifle, but should typically be aimed when fired for accuracy purposes. As for the upgrades, the first column features Field Choke, Linear Compensator, and Smart Drift Control. While Linear Compensator gives a little bit of stability at the cost of range, Smart Drift Control maxes your stability stat bar at the cost of a little bit of range and the slightest bit of impact. Suros Regime's first bonus is Focused Fire, which increases your damage while reducing your rate of fire. It brings up the damage by about 32% while reducing its rate of fire by 33%, from 450 RPM to 300 RPM. For example, a body shot on a Dreg goes from 123 to 163 damage, and a headshot goes up from 306 to 408. The second column of bonuses features high caliber rounds, hammer forged, and lightweight. High caliber rounds makes it easier to stagger enemies in PvE, hammer forged gives you a nice boost to range and accuracy, and lightweight gives you 2 extra points of agility while wielding the weapon. Suros Regime's main bonus is the aptly named Suros Regime, which increases the damage of every shot in the second half of the magazine, ramping up the lower you are on ammo, and also giving a chance to start regeneration on your health when dealing damage. It's basically glass half full, but the last few shots ramp up very high in damage. You'll see this bonus be a factor when you have 15 shots remaining in your magazine, ramping up gradually in damage by about 5%. However, the final 5 shots have tremendous ramp up, 8.6%, 20%, 40%, 53%, and capping it off with a 60% damage increase on the final shot fired. All that being said, it's not a massive game changer, but it might help to finish off any enemies before you need to reload. In PvP, it can be unexpected burst damage, however, it will be rare that you'll kill with fewer than 8 shots to the body. You'd need to hit the final 6 shots in a row to the body in order to kill someone using the bonus damage capable on the Suros, and this is not something you should be relying on in typical games or situations. A very hot topic among Suros users is Suros better in PvP with or without focused fire? Well, let's take a look at the numbers. A focused fired Suros will deal 26 damage to the body and 32 to the head. A non-focused Suros will deal 20 to the body and 24 to the head, although if you're using Smart Drift Control, this turns into 19 to the body and 23 to the head, which can play a factor in your killing potential. Focused fired, Suros deals 32 damage per headshot multiplied by 6 shots, which is 192 damage, which can kill some targets. Non-focused Suros deals 24 damage per shot multiplied by 8, which is also 192 damage, which can kill some targets. 6 shots with focused fire will take 1 second to fire at 300 RPM. The first shot will start that timer, and the 6th shot will fire the second the timer hits 1 second, and bullets travel near instantly, so let's just say it's 1 second on some targets. 8 shots without focused fire will take nearly the same amount of time, with the 8th shot firing just before the 1 second mark. In our goal to hit 192 damage, the non-focused Suros can beat the focused one by fractions of a second. However, something to keep in mind is that this is the absolute best case scenario, hitting every single shot in a row to the head. Well, what about to the body? Focused Suros deals 26 damage to the body, multiplied by 8 shots will get us the kill. Non-focused deals 20 damage to the body, where 10 shots gets us the kill. Note that if you use Smart Drift Control, you'll need 11 shots on the non-focused Suros. 8 shots from a focused Suros takes 1.4 seconds to fire, with the 8th shot being fired at 1.4 seconds, while 10 shots from a non-focused Suros takes about 1.33 seconds. Once again, this is the absolute best case scenario, hitting every single shot in a row to the body. So if your aim is impeccable, the non-focused Suros does have faster kill potential in PvP, take that info as you will. The average player probably isn't going to see a dramatic difference, although one benefit is that if you're firing more rapidly, it messes up the enemy's aim a little bit more versus a slower firing weapon. That being said, I don't think you need to be in any sort of hurry to grab another Suros strictly for PvP. For PvE purposes, you're going to want to upgrade your Suros to 331 attack, because 331 attack is better than having 302 attack. Let's take a look at Smart Drift Control as a bonus. Without Smart Drift Control, we can see our recoil sway a little bit to the sides, along with some expected vertical recoil. With Smart Drift Control, we can see some slight improvements with regards to our side-to-side recoil, but vertical recoil remains nearly the same. Overall, this bonus maybe isn't as noticeable if you're actively controlling your recoil, which you should obviously be doing. One more thing to note is that it is possible to fire this weapon faster while under the effects of focused fire, and that's by tapping on the trigger to fire each shot like a scout rifle. It is possible with a certain rhythm to fire the weapon faster than regular full auto with focused fire, but I personally think the negatives of this, having to mash the trigger in a very rhythmic and metronomic way, outweigh the slight positive of being able to squeeze out a couple more rounds per minute out of the weapon. My recommended upgrades are going to be high caliber rounds for PvE, and Smart Drift Control and Hammerforged for PvP if you're using a focused Suros. Non-focused Suros users can also use Smart Drift Control, but know that you'll be dealing 1 less damage per shot, and there can be times where you will need 1 more shot to finish off a target compared to normal. I think high caliber rounds are great for PvE, and more range and accuracy for PvP is always going to be very good. The only reason I don't give an absolute recommendation to Smart Drift Control in PvE is because of that lack of a very noticeable effect, not to mention you lose damage in PvE, although very slight. Suros Regime used to be the pinnacle of weaponry, a top contender in PvP and a very good selection in PvE. However, after repeated nerfs to both the auto rifle class and to Suros itself, it is definitely not where it used to be in terms of power. In PvP, it actually has one of the slowest time to kill times in the entire game, with many other weapons being able to kill in under 1 second. It does have a good amount of range for an automatic weapon, being able to compete with stuff like the Mythoclast at ranges where the Mythoclast might not be as effective. However, it is now outclassed by accurate players using exotic hand cannons, Red Death, and even stuff like Mida Multitool. It is still one of the best options, if not the best option for auto rifles as of patch 1.1.2, but unfortunately auto rifles are in a bad spot and Suros is no exception. It has definitely moved out of the top tier of weapons in both PvE and PvP, moving to the B+ tier for both. It's not bad enough to move it any lower, but I don't think it deserves to be any higher. Suros is a reliable weapon, but it just isn't the powerhouse that it used to be. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.